The ocean is one of the most unexplored areas on our planet, and for good reason. More than 90% of our ocean is considered deep ocean, this making exploration difficult. Perhaps the vast unknown, or whatever lurks behind this darkness veil of unknown, is what gives me the fear of the ocean, known as thalassophobia. Not knowing what lurks inside of this void, or the emptiness of the void itself. Either way, we try to replicate the ocean here on the surface with aquariums. But even aquariums can give me this uneasy feeling, and one in particular, known as the Santa Rosa Aquarium. Hi, my name is Raf Polo Laurent, and if you're new to this channel, I talk about anything horror related. And most recently, I came across another niche project on TikTok from a content creator known as SquakProductions. Now, this content creator has a plethora of other horror content besides his Santa Rosa Aquarium series. I really recommend checking out his channel and his other content, but he really perfects the vibe of analog horror to a T. And this is even visible in his other work, including projects like
This is about the thousands of people murdered and the countless other lives destroyed. Why is above the law? Why does
an alternate universe analog horror series, but he also dabbled in short horror films known as Country Lanes. And even in non-analog horror projects such as this short film, you can see a common theme across all his projects, including the one that we will be discussing today, and you'll see what I mean. I also had a conversation with Skok, who confirmed to me that this project we will be reviewing is entirely made by his own doing and his own editing. And the only AI use, which I don't know if I would even consider AI, is the text-to-speech, which obviously predated AI, which he's trying to phase out in future installments. So I wanted to make sure I did my due diligence to you guys watching this video, and do right by the creator himself and be transparent about everything before we deep dive into this lore. And it is because he has so much control in the editing and creation process of all his work. No matter what project you pick out and look at, you can really see his technique and style that is unique to him and really flourish on its own. And while all these techniques, as I said, are apparent in all his project, one in particular really showcases all these techniques in such a refined manner, a project known as the Santa Rosa Aquarium. God, I love that intro. But before I begin, I would like to preface, as of me recording, there are 8 parts to the story that compile into Volume 1. He's currently working on Volume 2, Part 9 just recently came out, but I will only be focusing on Volume 1, the completed volumes Parts 1 through 8. I will be interpreting this story by going off anything that is in the title, the descriptions of each video, whether that be on TikTok or YouTube, maybe any comments from the creator himself that he leaves, perhaps any other comments I find relevant to my own interpretation. But with that out of the way, no more stalling. Pop out your energy drinks. Currently recording this at 2 a.m. in the morning, 2:30. Downfalls of being in a 9 to 5. But let's get into the hidden lore of the Santa Rosa Aquarium.
Your response to a missing person on the premises will be influenced by the sector the report came from. Reassure the parents of a lost child. Notify staff using your radios. Tell the child to wait at guest services using the speaker system. Reassure the parents of a lost child. Notify staff using your radios. Tell the child to wait at the front desk using the speaker system. Direct all inquiries to administration. Immediately alert your superior in person. Check the status of sector siege filtration system.
So the first video basically introduces us to an employee training tape. What I find strange is this is tape 6, but we are in the first part of this series supposedly. I wonder if these tapes are out of order. and I'll see if this is a relevant thing moving forward. But we are then shown in this employee training video that this tape specifically, tape 6, is a protocol for any missing person. The general gist of this video being your response will differ depending what sector a missing person is reported in either sector A, B, or C. Now, sector C, I cannot make out the word specifically in the video. It looks like the word Belex. I don't know, man. I'm wearing sunglasses indoors. My vision is shit. I already have horrible eyesight as it is. Something weird to point out in this video, after sector B is completed in the video, they try to end the tape, but we were told in the beginning of the video that there's sectors A, B, and C. I kind of like that. They kind of emphasize sector C in that way. Something to differentiate it from the others. The only difference in protocol here, though, for sector C is you have to alert your superior in person when someone goes missing in this sector. And again, I appreciate the subtlety to something going on in sector C, something different. Perhaps this is a foreshadow for what's to come with that sector specifically. There is definitely a cut of some sort because, again, after sector B concludes, we get told training tape 16 is concluded. But when sector C portion of this training tape concludes, it jumps back to tape 6. Just something to know. That something funny is going on. Something quickly to point out, going through the comment section of part 1. I noticed from the comments, there seems to be this inside joke about nothing being under sector C. I find that kind of funny and interesting that this new series already has like inside jokes and memes. I wonder if I will be in on this joke after going through all of volume 1, but let's continue on.
Nothing happened, nothing happened, nothing happened. The Amazon River dolphin, also known as Eniagia francis, is a freshwater species native to South America. They have a diet consisting of mostly fish and crustaceans. You can see this for yourself at our daily feeding shows. We are fortunate enough to have 3 dolphins here at Santa Rosa Aquarium. Experience the opportunity of a lifetime by ziplining over the Dolphin Lake enclosure, where nobody was ever injured and everyone is fine.
Okay, so part 2. I've been told that in real life I have horrific hearing by many family and friends, and I'm starting to think that they might be right. When I first heard this scene,
Nothing happened, nothing happened, nothing.
I swear, what I heard at first was dumping cannon, dumping cannon, dumping cannon. But then I kept listening and listening and listening over and over and over again, because I know Skok wouldn't have a scene where something like dumping cannon would be said over and over. So I finally came to the realization, oh, they're not saying dumping cannon, they're saying nothing happened. And then going on to the next part of the scene, we are being introduced to a species of dolphin known as the Amazon River dolphin, getting told some basic facts about their diet and the aquarium. And there's 3 dolphins that belong to this aquarium, where you can zip line over the lake where they inhabit. The most interesting thing to note in this part is that we get told that someone died in 1989, making this the first recorded incident in this story up until now. I would definitely like to know how this kid fell in, like just a little bit more details about this incident. But God, man, that weird like music that he plays at the end when introducing that a child fell into the dolphin exhibit, it made me feel really uneasy. I really liked the use of the music when introducing a death. And then the dolphins were then relocated to Sector C after this incident. Why Sector C though? That's very, very interesting. Something's going on in Sector C, man. But if the dolphins were outside in Sector A, and I assume it's Sector A because it's a lake enclosure, I don't think that's something that you would fit inside. So wouldn't you move the dolphins to Sector B? Again, why move them to Sector C? B is the one that's indoors, like an indoor aquarium. But I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud here. It's pretty clear we're getting a lot of subliminals perhaps alluding to some sort of cover-up. Similar to Disney, when a death happens or something, they'll just try and cover that up. But as I said in part 1, something fishy is going on in Sector C. Get it?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Tough crowd, I get it, but let's continue on.
Filtration plays a major role in keeping our habitats clear and our inhabitants healthy. It cleans the water using layers of sponge, carbon, ceramic, and sand. Our staff find a variety of objects caught inside the filtration during regular cleaning. Here are some examples of items that have been found in the Beluga exhibit over the last week. Hair ties. A pair of shoes.
Who the hell authorized this? This tape needs to be pulled from circulation now.
Okay, so on the surface level, part 3 seems pretty self-explanatory. We get told about what can be found in the filtration system, and we get told about some everyday items, you know, hair ties, shoes, whatever the fuck that is. And also we get told the name of the child that fell into the filtration system, or who was found there, who goes by the name Jacob Smith. We then get a cutaway of a hot mic moment where someone internal is questioning why the Jacob Smith incident is specified in this tape, or why this tape is in circulation. I don't really connect what happened in part 2 to the same incident that that's being discussed in part 3. I really enjoy how messed up the beluga whale imagery looks. That's definitely going to be ingrained into my mind for a couple nights when I go to sleep. So thank you, Squawk, for that. I also like the tension building of, you know, things that are found in the filtration system. You got the hair ties, you got the shoes, and then just out of freaking left field, you get told the remains of a specific child. Like, that really threw me for a loop when I thought I was already safe because I already got jump scared. That was a great use of tension building there. But yeah, like I said, I think part 3, we're now seeing 2 different incidents in 2 different parts of the aquarium right now. We'll see if I'm correct in the future parts though. On to the next.
Warning, 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 warning.
Knowing what to say to customers isn't always straightforward. Here are some examples to help you deal with tricky questions. If asked, do the jellyfish in the touch tank sting? Say, absolutely not. Moon jellies are harmless. If asked, where are the river dolphins? Say, on an extended vacation. If asked, why are the police here? Say, even policemen enjoy Santa Rosa Aquarium. If asked, why is Sector C closed? Then say, there is nothing underneath Sector C.
This is probably my favorite part so far, simply because I understand the inside joke now. I understand why everyone's commenting there is nothing under Sector C.
There is nothing underneath Sector C.
New vocal stim unlocked. Also, something to note, my earlier theory, if tapes are shown out of order, is answered here in this part as well, because it is indicated to us that this is tape 1. But you need a higher level of clearance to view this tape compared to tape 6. More specifically, a level 3 clearance or higher. Now, it's interesting to note the theme of this tape. It's to answer complex questions. Answer complex questions on what? Do jellyfish sting? Where are the river dolphins? God, I freaking hate that noise, that crunching noise. It just so gives me goosebumps. Very good use of uncomfortable noises or audio kind of horror. alongside the creepy imagery here. Really made me feel uncomfortable. But so far, I have a theory that this tape 1 for part 4, was created in response to the incident part 2 alluded to, with the first 1989 dolphin attack. We get a more specific date here being February 13th, 1989. So if this is in response to the zipline kid incident, which we know is in the same year as 1989, it would have had to have happened in February or January. Damn, ziplining over a lake in January or February. As someone who's from New York, I mean, it's ironic because I'm wearing an LA hat, but as someone who's from New York, that's just a crazy concept to me. But so far, I do want to say that the zipline child and the Jacob Smith incident are indeed separate. I'm going to die on this hill until I get evidence that proves otherwise. I do appreciate the dark humor here in this part though. More specifically, the part where if an employee is asked, hey, so why are the cops here? You know, a crime scene unit, cameras, pictures being taken near this exhibit. And the expected employee response is to make light of this and be like, even policemen enjoy Santa Rosa Aquarium. It's such an obtuse answer, man. Like, could you just imagine going to a Disney park, all of this is happening with the cops and in real life, and you get a cold-ass fake smile from an employee, and they go, oh, all that commotion over there that looks like a crime is being investigated? Yeah, no, don't pay any attention. Here's some ice cream and a Mickey hat. Go experience some, like, magic or whatever. It's just a little humorous. I can appreciate the dark humor here a little bit, whether that was intentional or unintentional. Before I move on to the next part, we are then hit with this image of a cavern under Sector C. So is there really nothing under Sector C? That looks huge. But I do wonder in the later parts if this gets fleshed out. What are you hiding, Santa Rosa Aquarium, under Sector C?
This is the Santa Rosa Aquarium customer helpline. How may I assist you today?
My brother. I can't find my brother. I swear I was with him just a few minutes ago. He's gone.
Sir, please stay calm. You're doing the right thing. Can you please describe him for me?
Yes, he's 12 years old. Around 5'3", I think. He has a buzz cut. He was wearing a t-shirt with a white whale-looking thing on it.
That's perfect, sir. Can you please tell me where you last saw your brother? Even a rough idea will help.
He was, I think he was looking at the turtles, you know? In the outdoor area. He was next to the staff-only area.
Oh. Let me get back to you, sir.
You can't stop an animal from acting on instinct, Stephen.
This is a message for all staff working in Sector C. Our largest exhibit, Deep Blue, is to be close to visitors of the aquarium. Until the holes in the tank substrate can be adequately repaired, management has deemed it unsafe for guests. Keep smiling. You represent Santa Rosa Aquarium.
Alright, so after watching this part, we know for a fact that this is an altogether separate incident from the zipline kid, because the date in which this call is taking place, July 31st, 1988, that's clearly a different year than 1989, which is the initial dolphin incident. So this incident predates the dolphin one. I can also appreciate the subtlety in this part. They don't just outright say the brother of Steven was eaten or shredded by a pack of piranhas. He was just chilling by the turtles and he just disappears. I think that unknown scares me more from a storytelling perspective than just being spoon-fed exact details on what happened. Because now we can theorize a million things could have happened between the victim's brother, Stephen Smith, perhaps alluding to Jacob Smith, his older brother, but Stephen Smith and a customer service rep from Santa Rosa Aquarium. And in the conclusion of this discussion between the two, we get told by a mysterious figure who says the following line: "You can't stop an animal from acting on instinct, Stephen." Something else to note in this phone interaction is how the customer rep on the other line literally drops his tone in voice when Stephen tells him, oh, he was chilling outside by Sector A by the turtles near the staff only sign. What is the significance of the staff only sign? Why does the caller literally drop his balls when Steven tells him where his brother was at? I'm not entirely sure I have the answers to these breadcrumbs, but I have a theory. We get shown after this phone call interaction a layout of Sector B and C, and then this divide in between. We see the turtles in the bottom left and what I think is the beluga whale exhibit across. But we are told Sector C gets closed for guests after this phone call interaction. So clearly something in Sector C is perhaps affecting something in Sector B with the turtles, where Steven's brother disappeared. I don't know what exactly, but I'm establishing a connection of some sort stemming from Sector C. And I'm trying to create the imagery in my head of this aquarium, like sort of like the setup based on this map and the previous image we got in part 4. Do these exhibits in Sector B go underground and you just have this deep ass cavern next to you as you go exhibit to exhibit in Sector B? And listen, as someone who is terrified of oceans and stuff like that, thinking of being in an aquarium that has these indoor exhibits, and to my right is this giant ass cavern that like just terrifies the fuck out of me. But that's sort of the image I'm creating for this aquarium right now. Let me know how you were kind of envisioning this aquarium setup in the comments down below. Perhaps we'll get more breadcrumbs of this layout of this aquarium in place in the next parts. So on to the next.
Scanning. Scanning.
Here at Santa Rosa Aquarium, we are delighted to announce the opening of our largest exhibit, Deep Blue. The new exhibit will be located in the recently built Sector C and is due to be open to the public in late 1986. Deep Blue is our most ambitious project yet, containing a whopping 2 million gallons of water, aquarium tunnels, and even the opportunity to dive in yourself. We have attempted to replicate an authentic marine ecosystem. You will see sharks, manta rays, whales, and more fish than you can ever count. See you there. What are you playing at? When you said we were building over the old lead mine, I assumed you meant something small. There's no way in hell Deep Blue will last if it gets approved. You already know how I felt about building attractions in Sector C to begin with. But this is so much worse. I'll speak to you tomorrow.
Honest to God, I don't understand how people cannot be scared of the ocean. I mean, just seeing some of these marine animal stock footage, just in a vacuum by itself, like, look at this fucking thing. Look how it grins. There's like 800 rows of teeth. Listen, God bless marine biologists. I don't know how they swim with these sharks or these creatures. But this part follows a more commercial style video format. We get told here the Santa Rosa Aquarium is opening up a new exhibit in Sector C called Deep Blue, looking to make its debut in the year 1986. So it seems we are presented with this sort of advertisement, this commercial style video, and it also predates all the incidents we spoke about thus far. And man, is Sector C fucking huge. 2 million gallons of water to replicate a typical marine ecosystem. So I'm envisioning in my head a huge underwater tank system. Is it at all connected to the cavern? So you build an attraction in this Lovecraftian cavern? That just sounds like a bad idea, but that's kind of what I'm envisioning right now if that's the case. But don't just take my word for it. Take the word from this mysterious person who could be a scientist of some sort, and in my opinion basically seems to have a plethora of knowledge of what's weird about this Sector C area and how this attraction and everything they are doing he is fundamentally against. Kind of like Dr. Grant from Jurassic Park, who goes to Jurassic Park and takes one look around and goes, nope, yeah, this is a freaking terrible idea. That's the vibe I'm getting from this mysterious person from this phone call. But why does he think building anything in Sector C is a bad idea? Specifically, why? That is something that I wonder. I think one of my favorite parts of this series so far happens in this moment right here.
And more fish than you can ever count. See you there.
This almost like contradiction I'm getting from the audio and the imagery on my screen. One telling me it is vital that I don't lose track of the aquatic life I am seeing, and then the narrator saying there is more fish than you can ever count. And I just thought that was poetic juxtaposition there. Like, chef kiss, man. And then let's talk about the very first frame of this part. We are shown a system that identifies a shark to be 3 years old, but then we get shown something in a crater to be shown as null. Now, null to me right now, meaning it cannot be identified on whatever the hell it is. But oddly, they can make out that it's 53 years old. That seems oddly specific. Again, leaving us breadcrumbs, because I can see this part being interpreted in two ways. The first way is that this is an unknown species and it's 53 years old just lurking in that crater. Or possible second theory, now I'm no marine biologist, I've only owned a goldfish at a carnival. That's about the extent of knowledge I have with aquatic life. But I do know that sharks can smell blood from a mile away. Sorry, that is actually a Jaws Hollywood myth. Sharks can only smell blood from a quarter mile away. But with the shark near this area, and the subtext of the call later in the video, can we assume that perhaps this is a mangled corpse? And that's why the shark is near the area, because you have a mangled corpse pretty much giving off remnants of blood? If you're still following along, let me know which sounds more likely to you in the comments below. I would like to hear if I'm on the right track, or perhaps I'm wrong as hell, and this becomes null in the next part, but let us see. But I do have a lot of questions coming out of this part for sure. This one is definitely the richest of many theories and substances to be made. Why do you have to keep track of every fish? And I think the fact that we don't know exactly what's in these holes or these craters really freaks me out. Sometimes less is more in a story, and I really appreciate that from a visual perspective. Something else to note in the last part of the conversation, a small detail was mentioned about Sector C being built over an old lead mine. But the person in the phone call also clarifies that even despite that fact, he was already against building something over Sector C. So if you take the old lead mine out of it, what else are you fearful of from Sector C? I wonder.
Scanning. Scanning. Scanning.
If you are seeing this tape, then congratulations! You have been accepted into the Deep Blue Mermaid program. After massive success with shareholders, the plans for Deep Blue were upgraded, turning it from a 2 million gallon exhibit to nearly 7 million gallons. With all this extra space brings extra opportunity. This is where you come in. During special events such as birthday parties and field trips, you will be allocated to perform a magical mermaid show at the main viewing window, which will capture the hearts of both kids and grown-ups. Try to avoid swimming near the bottom of the tank, as your tail movements may disturb the substrate, obscuring the view of the exhibit. Don't stare into the holes. We are not liable for anything you may see. If you have any further questions, please report to the staff hub in Sector A. Keep smiling. You represent Santa Rosa Aquarium.
This part really made my skin crawl. Again, as I said countless times about my thalassophobia, imagining I'm a worker in this tank, I'm a whimsy little mermaid, and something has the possibility of grabbing me in the tank. I just wish I was the same person before I imagined that scenario. But basically in this part, we get told if we made it this far, congrats. We got maybe the second worst job position of all time, being a worker in the mermaid program. And I say second because the first worst job position will always be traffic authority. Man, those people give you those meter tickets for being like a minute late. Listen, you may lose your life in the mermaid program, but at least you don't lose your damn soul. 3 $100 parking tickets this month aside, the mermaid program as it is portrayed in this part and universe is such a terrifying concept for me. First of all, we get more of that oxymoronic imagery from both the visuals and the audio. We are told not to have our tails near the bottom of the tank as they may fling up the sand and obscure the tank, and as a result, obscuring the mermaid show. But we are then told at the same time, the narrator is trying to warn us that this could be a trigger for something bad to happen. So don't do it, he's warning us. We are then told that the workers should not stare into the holes and the company isn't liable for anything they may see in these holes. I cannot make out what that image is. It sort of pops up, you can kind of see it. Something definitely pops up. But following the same themes of the previous part, the creators are holding these null species, one being the 53-year-old, and the other hole in this part holding a 47-year-old possible victim, or an entity. But I'm starting to get off of that side of the theory and more towards the corpse side of the theory in these holes, because we are then introduced to whatever the hell this is supposed to be, titled Diam Kumza Ikugub. Okay, I'm not going to call it that, but we have this unknown entity that is 142 damn years old. So obviously it isn't something human. And it wouldn't be another marine animal that can live up to 142 years old, such as a geoduck or a rockfish, because we would be told it is that species, similar to the nurse shark shown earlier. So I beg the question, what exactly lurks behind the shadows here? What is this creature that lives to 142 years old? What is it supposed to be exactly? Hey, Editor Raph here for a quick second. I almost missed this very important thing as I was going to move on to the next part, but Part 7 has a frame where a link is displayed on screen where you can copy and paste that link into Google. You then get a video that goes into a link labeled Sectora year 1989. This then prompts us to a map of Sector A. I later find this out off screen after Part 8, so my theory will still make this canon, don't worry. I just wanted to be transparent during the investigative phase watching all these parts. So now we can move on to the next part.
Hey, can we talk?
Is something the matter?
I just want to say, I'm really grateful that you put my name forward for the mermaid program, but I'm not sure I'm comfortable doing it anymore.
Not comfortable? Trust me, we took extra care in making sure that none of the assets in Deep Blue could cause you any harm. You have nothing to be afraid of, Nancy.
I know, it's not the fish that are the problem. I just really don't like that tank. It makes me feel uneasy. My head starts pounding and my ears start ringing. Just... please?
I understand. I won't stop you, but I will ask a favour. There's a birthday party tomorrow for the Maxwell family. It's too short notice for me to bring someone else in. Just do one more mermaid show for me. Double pay. Then you can go back to doing your sea lion shows. Deal?
Okay, a deal. But this is the last show I'm doing, Mr. Stiller.
This is the Santa Rosa customer helpline. How may I assist you today?
My father just climbed into the beluga tank. Couldn't see any employees anywhere, so I just ran to a payphone. Please help.
Help is on the way. Don't worry. Did you say he climbed into the tank? Do you mean he fell in?
No, we were just talking and he turned around and started to climb over the barriers. It was so sudden.
I told the nearest staff member to go and assist you. Is your father supposed to be on any medication?
Please, call an ambulance, please, he's struggling.
Do not try to enter the beluga exhibit yourself.
Finally, we get to the last part to Volume 1, Part 8. I really love how they set up the tension in this part right here. You have a worker in the mermaid program describing how she wants out of this program. She expresses discomfort. The corporate guy, Stiller, his response is dismissive. It doesn't acknowledge how this worker is feeling. And on top of all that, he still wants her to cover one more shift for tomorrow, for her birthday, for the Maxwell family. And then that's it. She can move on to another department, away from danger, and everyone lives happily ever after. Obviously, this isn't the case. Listen, if you're about to like retire or move on to another spot, I can't tell you how many times I've seen in countless movies where like, you know, the cop that's about to retire, you know, the next day, and then something bad happens to him. Never take that last shift. But anyways, we cut to a phone conversation between Sam Maxwell and the customer service rep. What's so strange though is there is no mention of the employee we were discussing before. It's all about Sam Maxwell's father, who we gather from this conversation climbed into the beluga whale tank all of a sudden. I guess the beluga whale exhibit, looking at this map again, is considered Sector C, not B, but it is highlighted Sector B still. But right off the bat, we can definitely conclude that the beluga whale exhibit is very close to Sector C. And it's causing these weird behaviors, not only with the animals, but perhaps the patrons or humans in Sector C or near Sector C. I mean, just going off Sam Maxwell's testimony, she doesn't have a reason as to why her father just climbed into the tank. We also don't have an explanation as to why Jacob Smith just disappears. I'm going to assume with the testimony in the beginning of this part, where the worker seems affected by the vibes of this sector and tank, the weird behavior from the beluga whales, I can only make the connection somehow the father of Sam Maxwell was also affected by this anomaly. I'd also like to point out this incident comes after only a couple days after Steven's brother Jacob goes missing as well. But the main thing I want to focus on in this part is the very last scene we get introduced to this link. And after many different variations of this link, I finally got it to work. So I guess this isn't a new part, but kind of like a bonus scene that probably correlates with part 8. Either way, even though it's not technically a different part, it's like a bonus footage thing. Cue the cool transition. Okay, so in this part, we follow along a computer system that directs us to a company statement. But hold it, right before that section opens up, just before we go into that next frame, another file or link pops up called Cavern Flood. That just sounds cool. You can do a lot with that. But anyways, when we open up the company statement, it seems we get acknowledgement of a couple things. First, the Jacob Smith incident, Thomas Maxwell, the father of Sam, but we also get this Nancy Carver character in this section. The only possible explanation I could have here is that this Nancy person is perhaps the woman worker from part 8 that did not want to go out there. They never said her name explicitly in part 8, so I'm just making a theory here or a connection. It's the one that makes the most sense in my opinion. We do get a new event in the timeline here, August 1st, 1988, shortly after the Jacob incident and Maxwell, and presumably the Nancy worker incident. We get told Sector C is now officially closed off to the public. I just love how soulless this statement is though. Like the second paragraph here, oh, our hearts go out to the families that suffered because of our facility, and then right under that, but it wasn't our fault. So anyways, thanks for your money and support. It's so corporate talk. I do find it humorous. But that pretty much concludes all the parts in Volume 1, including the bonus footages. So now it's time for piecing everything together and our final thoughts. To start this segment of the video off, I do want to talk about the timeline of events I have thus far, and make a few corrections after viewing all of Volume 1. But basically what I've been gathering from the bits and pieces from Volume 1 is that the Santa Rosa Aquarium, I do think that there might be some employees that take part in some sort of covering up. I don't believe it's all the employees, because there's just too much crazy things happening at this facility for absolutely nobody to be knowledgeable of. The issues seem to arise though once the Santa Rosa Aquarium begins to build attractions into Sector C. Part 6 announces the opening of Sector C, otherwise known as the deep blue part of the aquarium. And among Volume 1, I'm betting that Part 6 is the earliest tape in this whole volume. This is the part where the opening is announced and concerns of said opening is said. The debut opening of the Deep Blue being 1986. This marks the earliest date that I can pull from all the other parts, giving us a good starting point in our timeline. Using exact dates from all these parts, the next major incident in Volume 1 would have to be the Thomas Maxwell and Nancy incident discussed in Part 8, July 29th, 1988. The beluga whale exhibit is emphasized at the end of Part 8, specifically to not enter. Something I wanted to point out though is this graphic here. Take a look at the beluga whale exhibit and the deep blue Sector C area. Look how close they are to each other. If Nancy and the Maxwell family are here for the Sector C mermaid event, why would Thomas Maxwell be climbing into the beluga whale exhibit if apparently Nancy and the Maxwell family were attending an event in Sector C? Maybe unless they specifically walked away from Sector C to Sector B. But I believe both sectors do have some sort of connection, not just spiritually, but physically. Maybe you can get to Sector C from Sector B, and it is near the beluga whale exhibit. But another connection I wanted to highlight, why would Sector C be closed off as a result from the Jacob Smith phone call in Part 5? The turtles and beluga whale belong to Sector B after all. I'd also like to know more about this barrier. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. We're sticking to Part 8 with a verifiable date of 7/29/1988. Now, I know I said this would be the second part in our timeline, but Part 7 technically I feel like should be the second in our timeline. It does introduce the mermaid program after all. It talks about the success that it has after the debut of Sector C, the Deep Blue, in 1986. Part 7 introduces us to the debut of the mermaid program. Then we get Nancy describing her grievances of the mermaid program. So I would have Part 6, then 7, then 8 in chronological order. Naturally from here I would have Part 5, which would be fourth in our timeline for Volume 1, because Jacob Smith reported incident happens on 7/31/1988, 2 days after the Nancy and Thomas incident. I also connected Part 3 to Part 5, acknowledging the connection between Jacob Smith and Stephen Smith, the phone call. So Part 3 would come 5th after Part 5, ironically enough. So thus far I have the announcements of Sector C opening up, mermaid program announcement, Nancy and Thomas incident, days after the Stephen Smith phone call, the filtration tape where Jacob Smith is mentioned, and then I would put the second bonus video that comes from Part 8, that link. I would have that 6, where the company makes a statement about these 3 incidents. August 1st, 1988. And then coming at number 7, I would put Part 2, where the zipline child is mentioned. This incident taking place in 1989. And then I would have Part 4 tape at number 8, since it's titled The River Dolphin Aftermath. So it's a response video to the zipline kid incident. Also something to note, tape 1, which would come before tape 6 from Part 1, you would put tape 1 before tape 6. I would then have the first bonus video 1, showing us the map of Sector 8. This would ultimately make sense having it after the response video, since it shows us the map of the dolphin exhibit closed off. And we are still in 1989 according to this link that we clicked, but it is after the zipline child incident, since again, the map is telling us that the zipline is no more. But I would then have bonus video 1 being 9th in this timeline, showing us the map of Sector A. It would ultimately make the most sense because it shows us the map of the dolphin exhibit closed off. So we are still in 1989 according to the link that we clicked, but it is after the zipline child incident, since again, the map tells us the zipline is no more. And then after all these missing incidents, I would then kind of have, ironically, Part 1, which should be last in the timeline for Volume 1 in my opinion, because it's giving you a missing person training video on all sectors. Sector A, where the zipline kid incident happened. Sector B, having the Jacob Smith incident happening when he was by the turtles, and that's probably where Stephen Smith, his older brother, reported the missing person case. And then finally, Part 3. Technically, the father did jump into the beluga whale exhibit, but Nancy was definitely in Sector C. She was doing the mermaid exhibit show. So you had a missing case in all 3 sectors. It makes the most sense to me that the training video, tape 6, for what to do if a missing person happens in all 3 of these sectors. Also, it makes sense why they kind of didn't include Sector C in that training video, because by the time this video comes out, Sector C isn't a thing no more, but it sort of just glitched into that video. But okay, great. We have our timeline in how we should be watching each part. This is how I think it makes the most sense to view all parts. And it's great understanding the timeline of events, but what about some of the subtext? Some of the mysteries that are sprinkled in throughout certain parts? Well, let's start with the null things. We only get presented with the nulls when introduced to Sector C openings. Part 6, the opening of the Deep Blue, Sector C itself. We get the null species intro. And Part 7, the mermaid program debut. We also get this null species opening. And remember, these craters or these holes are specific to Sector C. But why am I saying holes? Well, remember, Part 5, if we are to believe the narrator, they tell us Sector C closes due to the holes in the substrate floor. Are these the images we are seeing on the substrate floor of the tanks and exhibits? This looks to be the floor in these images. We see the top of the sharks in both photos, and below them the floor. I'm making a connection that in tape 7, the 47-year-old null species is to be Nancy, unrecognizable, decomposing in this hole. And by default, the other null species that is 53 years old could be a 53-year-old Thomas Maxwell, the father of Sam. This would then also explain how these holes need to be repaired and thus closing Sector C until that is done. I also made that there is a strong connection between the beluga whale exhibit and Sector C, just for being so close to each other, based on this map. When someone goes missing in Section C, you are to check the filtration system. And who ends up in the filtration system? So there certainly is a connection by where Jacob was in Sector B by the turtles. More specifically, the filtration system of the beluga whale exhibit. But how exactly did he get in the beluga whale exhibit from the turtle exhibit? It had to have been something involved with the staff only section. In my opinion, maybe he wandered in there, the staff only section, and it led him to the beluga whale exhibit. Or a similar thing that happened to Thomas Maxwell happened to Jacob Smith, where it made him just gravitate to that exhibit from the turtles. The involvement of employees start creeping into my mind though, because why is it that Thomas ends up in holes, but Jacob ends up in the filtration system? What is the reason for that variation? But either way, there is something going on in Sector C that is correlated with the beluga whale exhibit. And of course, it is also affecting other animals like the dolphins in Sector A. But after they do something like kill a child, they get transported to Sector C. But the weirdness, the weird vibes that I'm getting from Sector C, whether that be the cavern underneath or the old lead mine mentioned by Stiller, I just don't have enough yet to theorize what exactly is controlling the animals, the people, and how exactly they're causing these sporadic events. We just know it has something to do with Sector C. That unknown 142-year-old entity might have something to do with it as well, but I can only theorize until later parts come out. And then as for the zipline child, how did he fall into the dolphin exhibit? Why did the dolphins eat him? As I said, they were moved to Section C after this incident, but these are questions that I have for now, and I can only theorize until all of Volume 2 probably comes out. But overall, the Santa Rosa Aquarium has a lot to work with here, a lot of substance. The world building, the lore, the characters we are learning about, it's also rich with ideas and possibilities, and that's why I'm so intrigued and why I wanted to make a video, because especially in the horror ARG genre, it has been a dying art, and part of that is due to AI. So I really want to spotlight a project that is made with the hard work of a talented creator. Let me know what you think of the story so far in the comments down below. But I still have questions I'm trying to figure out. But at least we have a timeline of events. I'm still bumping my head on certain subtexts I like more information on. For example, the specifics of what happened to Jacob and the zipline kid. I'd like to know more about that mysterious creature that is 142 years old. As of me recording, as I said, part 9 and the commencement of volume 2 is being worked on right now. I'm going to wait for that whole volume to be completed before I make a follow-up video. But let me know if you agree with my timeline on the parts thus far. I think that's a very important foundation to then stem our theories from. As long as we have a good solid foundation of all the parts, how they should be watched, and we all agree on the same timelines, we can really stem a lot of theories from there. But this is probably the longest video I will ever make on this channel, and for good reason, because there's a lot to unpack here. Big shout out to SquakProductions, and big shout out to his community on Discord. Like I said, any lore or any theories I came up with my own head, but overall that community is pretty chill. I'll link all available socials down below. This content creator, he's really building a great piece of work here, but also an online horror community. And in general, in today's times, I think that's really rare. Highly recommend you go on over and show him some love. With that being said, to my left, you can check out some of my other horror content here. I'm your internet bro, Raph, and until the next video, remember, nothing happened under Sector C.